You have done it again. You are standing directly in front of someone you have met before. At least 3 or 4 times, and their name is just gone, completely absent from your mind. It is like it was never filed anywhere in the first place, and the worst part is the forgetting. It is the next 12 seconds of pure improvised theater you are about to perform, hoping someone says their name first. Bob.
Yes.
Or that their phone rings, or that the building catches fire. We have all been there, sure. But the people who chronically forget names are not careless or rude, they are just not as unintelligent as they believe. There is actually something very specific happening in their brains, and once you understand it, you will never feel guilty. Let us start with, when you meet someone new, your brain is doing an enormous amount of work simultaneously. Reading their face, registering tone, figuring out context, and calculating where you stand socially while thinking about what to say next. Your working memory is essentially juggling 6 things at once, and into that cognitive chaos, someone hands you an arbitrary sound. Kevin. Okay, Kevin does not mean anything, it does not connect to anything you already know, it does not trigger a concept or image. It just sits there, isolated in a brain that is frankly too busy to babysit it. Psychologists have a name for this. In 1987, researchers McQueenie and Ellis published a fascinating study demonstrating what is now called the Baker-Baker paradox. They told one group that a person was a baker by profession, and another group that the same person's surname was Baker. Days later, the people who learned the occupation remembered it far more easily than those who learned it as a name. Because the word baker as a job activates a whole web of associations: flour, bread, early mornings, warmth. As a name, it activates nothing. It floats there, rootless. Names by their very nature are semantically empty. Your brain, an efficient machine that it is, preferentially holds on to things that mean something. Think about the last funeral you attended. You probably remember the smell of the flowers, the specific silence in the room. You do not remember what was written on the order of service, because your brain made a decision without consulting you about what mattered. But now where it might get a little uncomfortable, because it is more personal than most people want to admit. A significant portion of chronic name forgetters are people who are extremely in their own heads during social interactions. Though in an anxious way, rather than an arrogant one, while the other person is introducing themselves, these people are internally narrating. Am I making enough eye contact? Is this handshake too firm? Did I just interrupt them? The internal dialogue bulldozes straight over it. This is actually documented. There is a phenomenon called the next in line effect, first documented in 1973 by psychologist Malcolm Branner, where people waiting to speak in a group, anticipating their own turn, showed dramatically reduced memory for what the person directly before them said, because in their head they had already moved on, already preparing the next thing to say. They are editing themselves in real time. And people who live with social anxiety, or even just a hyperactive self-awareness, are essentially stuck in that mode permanently. Never quite here, always half a step into what comes next, which means the moment a name is actually offered, they are already somewhere else. If that is you, here is the reframe. You do not have a memory problem. You have a preoccupation problem. Those are very different things. There is also something worth saying about the people on the other end of this, the people whose names get forgotten. Because the emotional sting of it is genuinely real, and it would be unjust to pretend otherwise, having your name forgotten, especially repeatedly, lands like a message. You did not matter enough to stick. That is how it feels, even if it is completely wrong. That is what the brain hears. The person who forgot your name probably thought about the conversation you had afterwards. They remember what you said about your sister. Or the specific way you laughed at something, maybe you had an odd take that stuck with them. They were there, they were just not quite there for the name part. And this is the thing about memory that most people fundamentally misunderstand. It is not a recording. Your brain does not store experiences the way a hard drive stores files. It stores impressions, emotions, patterns, fragments, and it prioritizes ruthlessly. High emotion, stored. People who forget names easily often have something else in common. They tend to be highly associative thinkers. Their memory is richly contextual. They remember stories and feelings, the look on someone's face when they said something that mattered. Ask them what someone was wearing at a party 3 years ago. They might actually tell you. Ask them the name of the person standing next to them, blank, because their brain was cataloging everything except the label. This is not a flaw in the mind, it is just a particular architecture, one that is frankly better suited to storytelling, to emotional attunement, to the kind of listening that makes people feel genuinely understood, and worse suited to the specific mechanical task of holding and remembering what someone was called under social pressure. None of this means you should not try to get better at it, by the way. Repeating someone's name back immediately when you meet them. Connecting it to a visual or a person you already know, these things work, and they work because you are doing manually what your brain refuses to do automatically. Building the association that was not there, you are essentially constructing a little bridge between Kevin and something that already has a place in your mental landscape. But the shame spiral, the quiet, low-grade belief that forgetting names makes you an uncaring person, someone who moves through the world without really registering other people, that part is wrong, and it is worth saying clearly, because a lot of people carry it without ever examining where it came from or whether it is actually true. You are not absent or dismissive. You are someone whose brain prioritizes differently, gets hijacked by its own internal weather, the arbitrary sound their parents assigned them before they had done a single thing worth remembering. The name was always the least of it. What you remember about people, the real stuff, the texture of who they are, that part, that is still there, that has been there the whole time. Interested in exploring some of my explanations further, I have put together a collection of books that dive deeper into psychology, human behavior, and independent thinking. You can find the full list on my bookshop page through the link in the description and pinned comment, and if you enjoy content like this, consider subscribing and turning on the notification bell so you do not miss future uploads.